Gaming NBS episode 155 coming to you Wednesday, September 6th. Welcome to Gaming NBS, a tabletop RPG podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sean.
And I'm Brett. Welcome to the show. Welcome back, folks. How you doing, Sean?
Ugh.
I tell you, between you and your motorcycle thing and my wife and her car crack been out on me last night, that just, this has been like a nasty run of can't make our deadline to drop on Tuesday. Man.
Life is trying to sabotage us, Brett.
It's a pain in the ass is what it is. I don't like it.
I will not let it happen.
Nope. So we're going to be a little late on this one, folks. We're normally out at noon on Tuesdays. I apologize. My wife's car died. Pretty much just as Sean and I sat down to start recording so we could drop the episode on Tuesday. We're like, hey, yeah, I can't do that. I got to worry about getting the wife home, make sure she's safe. So still don't know what's wrong with the fucking car, but we'll figure that out. I just put a bullet in the engine block and be done with it. I don't know. I think it pisses me off. Anyway. Anything you want to bitch about, Sean?
I got tons. I just don't think this is the forum.
Now's not the place. All right. We'll start a different podcast. Brett and Sean bitch about shit.
Yeah.
Two middle-aged white guys complaining about crap they can't control. That's what we'll do. That'd be a great.
Maybe we're like counter to the other any award-winning podcast. Instead of like we talk about shit, we bitch about shit. Talk about stuff, we should bitch about shit.
Brett and Sean bitch about shit. There we go. Yeah. Still works. Anyway, announcements. Let's pretend we got ourselves a gaming podcast here as opposed to certain other podcasts. Anyhow, I did it. I done did it. So, Gamehole Con, if you haven't bought your badge yet and you're planning to come, to hell, man, go buy your badge, get some games on. Shit is getting real, man. Shit is getting real. We got bracelets games are selling out. One of mine has sold. My Wraith game sold out of all weird things. My Streets of Avalon game, I think, had one seat left last I checked. So there's plenty of good gaming to be had. There'll be some off-book stuff as usual. Free beer on Saturday by us, so it'll be fun. So hopefully we will see more and more of our listeners there. It'll be really cool.
So some of the ones that you may be able to get into in the next, when you hear this, they could be gone, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes,
I
no
know
promises.
that. Yes, Jason Hobbs has one opening for his game. There is an opening for Forrest Agary's DCC game, Crawling Under a Broken Moon, which would be awesome. Let's see, what else? We have 82 of 100 tickets left for the Gamer Meetup, which is the free beer, which is an event. So...
yeah, no ticket, no beer.
No ticket, no beer. It's free. It's a free event. You put it in your cart and you get that, and then you show up and you drink beer.
It's mostly in the. I was gonna say it's mostly in the event catalog, so you can schedule your day and get lined up for it, and we can figure out how many people actually showed and all that stuff. So
that's true,
but it's very important. It's because it's a ticketed event. I want to take all those tickets and put them in for prize drawings. I wonder if Alex thought that one through. Anyway,
I don't think they'd have to write their stuff on the back of it. Their email so we could notify them.
Oh, we'll figure it out. Don't worry.
VC Young is running. What is the system? 6-6 system. He's got some openings. Check that out. 5E game by Chris Steele is got a couple tickets left. Let's see. Eric Farmer, his Dogs and Hats Solving Crimes, which I think is going to be phenomenal. He's got a few tickets as of this recording. Now, again, all this could be gone. Let's see. Dave Beatty's coming up from South Carolina to run his Dark Trails game, which is a DCC Western
It's like Call of
Craziness.
Cthulhu meets DCC meets the Wild West. It's gonna be a fucking blast, is what it's gonna be.
How can you not register for that thing? Let's see. Jim Fitzpatrick has the sign system, Thorny Games. Sign is a story game based on the story of Nicaraguan sign language in which players work together to create pieces of a sign language during play. That's a 2-hour one. So that's that one. Cthulhu is running some Monster Hearts. If you haven't tried Monster Hearts, you haven't tried some of these, and you want to give it a shot, like if you play 5e all the time, go to the con, check something else out. Go to GameholeCon.com, Gaming NBS in the search under events. Got to have a badge to register for an event. But I have an announcement.
What is it?
The Sean Uber.
The Sean Uber. Is it back?
It's back.
It's back.
I don't know if it's back for Thursday. I got to ask off, and Sean's kind of in the hole for PTO for some ungodly reason. But
yeah, that could be a problem. But anyway, the point is,
if you are flying into Madison, Wisconsin, I'm going to say Friday for sure, Thursday maybe, Wednesday, I don't think I can get to you. Let me know ahead of time, and I will pick you up at the airport and take you to your hotel as long as it's still in Madison. That's for gamers going to Gamehole Con. If you're a gamer and you're not going there and you show up during that time and you want me to take you to Milwaukee,
fuck off.
Shit's not happening, brah.
No, seriously though, Sean has been kind enough to do that in the past. We've had a couple gamers take us up on it. If we can help you out, basically we'd like to. If for some reason the schedules don't work, don't jive or whatever, that's fine too. But hey, if you want to, we'll do our best to get you from point A to point B.
We promise we will not mug you.
No, Sean's
I will.
Sean's promising.
I guess I can only speak for myself.
Exactly. It depends how much I've been drinking. Who knows what could happen? I'm kidding.
Right.
I'm kidding.
No, Brett's kidding. He's such a kidder. All right. That's it for Gamehole Con.
All right. So speaking of conventions, Evercon, my lovely little convention in central Wisconsin, January 5, 6, and 7 of 2018. We have our submissions are open and pre-reg for badges is underway. We are doing it's $35 if you pre-reg for the whole weekend. So you can get a weekend badge for $35. At the door, weekend badge will be $40. So hey, save yourself $5. Evercon.org, link in the show notes and all that good stuff. We would love to have. I know Corey Wynn is planning, hopefully, to come down, run some games. I know Kevin, Lovecraft, and I think Austin are going to do me a solid and get some stuff going. And my usual gaming group up there will be putting on some games as well. So similar to, card games, board games, miniatures, whatever you'd like to do. You want to run a seminar, demo something, that'll be great. Even if you just want to know, hey, what kind of games are popular, whatever, hit me up, hit us up via, if you're a patron, hit us over Patreon, or contact me on G+. Be a good way to get a hold of us, or any of the usual, gamingnbs.com, types of things. And I'll be happy to answer whatever I can. But hey, I need and would love to have quality gamers helping us run a good convention this coming January. So that's out there.
I'll see if I can get up there. Special guest, Sean from Gaming NBS. Hey,
yeah.
Whoa, hey. No, seriously, no, please stop.
No, easy. Just wheel my chair up over here. Thank you. Right.
Yeah. A limo? Where's the? Oh my God!
A limo just for me. That's crazy.
That's crazy. Nuts. Remember, M&M's green. All the M's face up.
Yes, I know you like your W's. A quick bit. Let's see. Nothing new on the Avalon Encoded thing. We're still working out some of the timing with the guys from Encoded going to QCC. Waiting for them to get back from that so we can sit down and talk some business and schedules and make some things happen. So, still going to happen. Don't have the details. But in lieu of that exciting news, what's this thing you've started, Sean?
Oh,
what have you done to try to help out our fellow gamers in Texas? What are you doing here?
For those that are not tuned into some of the social media channels, I proposed this to Brett, and Brett was like, yeah, it's a great idea. Get it going.
Yeah, I thought, it's This is a really, really cool thing to do. So anyway, sorry, go.
So gamers versus Harvey. I had to come up with something. And so hashtag gamers versus Harvey. We Gaming and BS podcast we are going to take any funds that we get for the month of September, and we are going to donate them to the Houston Food Bank. And that's what it's actually called. The Houston Food Bank. We did some research. We looked them up on the Better Business Bureau. We looked them up on Charity Explorer. I forgot what it's called. And then their website. So we're going to take our funds and donate it to the folks that are struggling in Texas because of that motherfucker Harvey coming into town and dumping all kinds of shit on them. So what I proposed, I thought, in my time of need, there were people like, hey man, what can I do? Can we do anything? And I'm like thinking to myself, life's not too bad, right? Those people, man, houses gone. I mean, it's freaking, I can't imagine being down there right now. And if I had my way, I'd just go down there and help somebody. But the one way we can help is if we chip in. Now, there is a website that I did put up quick to explain a lot of this. If you head over to www.gamersfeedhouston.com, it'll take you to the website and participating podcasts and some of the details of whether you're a listener or a podcaster. So if you're a podcaster, this is how you can help. If you're a listener, this is how you can help. Now, to sum it up, every podcast may be doing something a little bit different, right? Not everybody can afford to give up their patronage for the month. So we didn't want to put like real hard boundaries because we figured if somebody can help in any way, then great. Like if they could chip in $5.
Yeah, the last thing we want to do is say the only way you can get in on this cool thing we're trying to organize is if it's X number of dollars or more. That's bullshit, right? If you have the ability to help and you'd like to, this is an avenue for us to try to help because like I told Sean over text, there's gamers down there, man. We don't know who they are and I don't really care. I don't even, whatever. Right. There's no reason we can't do something. And this is the best thing we can do.
So in order to figure out who's doing what and how, you'll want to contact the specific podcast and just ask them like, hey, how are you guys involved in this? And they'll outline kind of like, well, this is what we're doing. And that's their prerogative and that's what they're going to do. Now, the only thing I've asked of podcasters that are participating is if they do come up with a dollar amount or a total amount, however they do it, to let us know what that is. And we want to kind of let everybody know, hey, we raised $500. Hey, we raised $500 million, whatever that is, so that we can kind of say, hey, Gamers versus Harvey, we came together and we raised this money and dedicated it down to the folks in Texas. For us, if you're a listener of the show and you want to help, you can do one of two things. You can become a patron, and our patronage is $1 per episode. And I think there's 4 Tuesdays this month. So it'd be $4 minimum, for the month. If you want to give, if you already are giving or you want to give more just for the month of September, you can, and then we will take that. And then you can kick down your patronage after September. Heck, you can even abandon it, right? You don't have to give any more after the month of September. So we're going to give that all. Donations too. So if people want to go to Patreon and sign up for an account and blah, 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 they just want to donate via PayPal. We have a PayPal on our support page, gamingandbs.com, /support. And there's a there's a PayPal link. You just wire us some money. It could be $1 if you want. And we'll put that all in the fund. Again, other podcasts may be doing it differently. Now, for folks that are podcasters or listen to this and like, hey, listen to this piece where Sean's talking about it. I do not want to collect your money. I don't want your money outside of our own show. I don't want anybody to question any integrity or any ethics or like that stuff. So in short, every podcast that participates, would just go straight to the Houston Food Bank, which I'll have a link in the show notes, and it's on that website I mentioned, and they could just donate. When it says organization or on behalf of an organization, just put in a hashtag Gamers versus Harvey, and then I think you have to put in your own address or the address of the organization. Just put in your own, but at least then they'll kind of go, oh, the same org keeps donating from other places. Yes, so that's it. If you are unable to donate because times are tough, we all have to eat ourselves. I get that. The one thing you can do is help spread the word. So maybe you have another favorite podcast that is not aware of this. Let them know, like, hey, these guys are kind of doing something. Would you guys consider doing something? And if they're not able to do something, that's the way they can help is spread the word. So literally for free, you can help. You just tell people like this is happening, and hopefully we will come together and kind of make a little bit of a difference somewhere down near the Houston area. So again, if you have any questions, we'll put a link in the show notes. Click on the link. I try to explain that in text on the website, www.gamersfeedhouston.com. So having said that, the participating podcasts, which I want to acknowledge because they're all like, yep, I'm in. Count us in. The Closet Gamer. So Michael Parker is involved with that. So he's just getting a podcast underway, but he's like, hey, I may not be making any money, but I'll do what I can. Perfect. She's a Super Geek. So if you haven't checked them out, they're going to be on that website with links to their shows. Tabletop Game Talk, that's Chris Steele and his two co-hosts are involved. They do board games, so they're in. The Wild Die podcast, so Eric Lamoureux and the gang is going to be involved. Hobbs and Friends of the OSR, so Jason Hobbs is in. And Drink Spin Run, so Adam Miscavige and Don Stroud are saying, yep, we're in, man. And so if you want to know and you're fans of those guys, and you want to dedicate like money to them or something, by all means, you don't have to give it to Gaming and BS by any means, but it's a good cause. I think I've gone way too long about that.
It's all right. It's important, man. It's important. I mean, this is big earth-shattering stuff. I mean, your motorcycle accident was bad. My wife losing, having car issues is bad, but this is beyond bad. This is catastrophic for a lot of people. And
like 9 trillion gallons freaking dumped on Houston, man. But that is fucking insane.
So if you're living under a rock and you don't know what's going on, go to your local news station. I'm sure somebody's got something. But anyway, we wanted to do something. I thought Sean had a great idea. So if you can help, great. If you can't, please spread the word. And we want to do what we can. That's what it comes down to.
And Irma's coming. So if you're in Florida and the Virgin Islands and some of the islands out down in the Caribbean area, man, batten down the hatches, man. Don't be a hero. Stay safe. And God, I hope we don't have to keep doing this every week.
That's Jen and Bob Brinkman are in Florida area. And if you follow them on Facebook or at all or anything, they're in the battening down hatches and looking for safety and so forth. So Jen and Bob, take care. And any other gamers in the Madison, anybody out there that we know, we've got friends or family in Florida. Hope it goes better than the poor folks in Houston. So, good Lord, it's rough. Makes my car problems look like a fucking nothing, dude.
Yeah, right. Like I just lost my entire fucking house. Like, wow. Okay. All right. Let's get into random encounter then.
Let's do it. Something fun.
All right, random encounter. We've got a couple this week. Brett, you want to start off or you want me to start? What do you want to do?
I'll do it. Feedback on our last episode on classless games. Spencer Clark commented. He said, I enjoyed the classless games episode. I've been invited to play Shadowrun for the first time, and I've had fun working character creation. But without any life path or guidelines for matching archetypes, I found myself doing a lot of back and forth trying to keep my choices fitting with one another. Like you talked about in the second half, I think it's really easy to spread yourself too thin mechanically when there's no template to work from. So I asked the veteran players, quote, what do I need to make my character mechanically viable, or is that less important in this game, unquote. I was a little confused because it sounded like you were talking about Shadowrun as a game with classes. Was that true in previous editions? I've only spent a brief time with the 5e rules, but all I've seen from the archetypes is a very broad description of what role they fill, but no guidelines for creating them mechanically. So, Spencer, I responded back to Spencer on the G Plus community where he posted this up, and I was hearkening back to my first and second edition Shadowrun days in days gone by, and the archetype concept of the street samurai, the rigger, the I think there were talismongers, deckers, street shamans, blah blah blah, all these types of things out there. Even I think they used to be pre-packaged type of things you could buy. Regardless, my comment to Spencer was taking that and saying, here's a theme I want to build off of. Take the street samurai theme and build a thing that fits that theme. Gives you a box to work within, as opposed to having so many options you're not quite sure what to do with. It just helps to guide you. And I probably did even better, even worse job now of verbalizing it, but in writing on the Google Plus stream there, Spencer's like, oh, cool, I dig that. I get what you're saying. So anyway, that was my point I was trying to make with that piece.
I see.
Yeah.
Crim fan on the same episode. I've played plenty of such games that I didn't have classes or even splats. Humans in New World of Darkness, BRP, champions, etc. Usually what you need to do or encourage a player to do is think of a theme or job of some sort, so they end up making characters that have a reasonably integrated set of abilities, and then leave some things off to the side for customization. In a sense, make a template for yourself or have the GM help develop one. In a modern game, a job often helps provide that structure. Quote, let's see, she's a cop, so she'll have the following kinds of skills. Or he's a doctor who used to do EMS calls at night in the Tough City Hospital, so he'll have doctor skills and also will be a little tougher than the average upper middle class honor roll student. In a supers, you can often get an idea from comics. There are different types of heroes like the Brick, Blaster, Speedster, Mentalist, Genius, Martial Artist, Gadgeteer, Paragon, etc. Different supers might mix these types, such as Batman, who's both a martial artist and gadgeteer, but he is a detective.
He's also, which just more mix, right?
Right.
You don't have to say, I think what Crim Fan's getting at here is dead right. Well, I like both of these things. Boom, put them in a blender, babe, make your own. You can totally zip-zap it and make your own. Roll your own, man.
Yeah, you can totally be a dark elf wielding dual scimitars.
What? Why not? Who
would
do
a
such a
Black
thing?
Panther as your animal companion.
Carry on.
And you can write novels about it, and then just you're done. Retire. We love you, Bob. If you totally open it up and everyone chooses drive, the players are voting for a game with a heavy amount of driving and chase scenes. Yeah. One thing that can be kind of challenging in a lot of these kinds of games is that it's very hard to make a capable character under the rather tight budget that starting characters start on. I've long thought that some starting templates or everyman skills that are setting specific would be helpful. In a modern America game, most people know how to drive. They may not drive well that's no shit, but they have the basics of it. Of course, people who grew up in New York City often don't know how to drive, but they'd have slightly different skills. Touché.
Yeah, there's a thing I've done when it comes to that, and I've seen other game masters do this in the past as well, where they say, well, I made a character like this, I only had 50 points to spend. Boy, I'm like, well, what's her thing? Well, I really think she should have some of this, but I kind of skimped on it. Give yourself a point in drive. Give yourself a point in this. All right, give yourself 2 points in there. That only makes sense. John Wick has said this before, and it's kind of how many points do I get to make my character? How many points do you need? And that's a different topic, perhaps for another show. But the idea of it from character balance and so forth, but even from the character gen perspective, is that, look, if it helps you make the character you want to start out with, perhaps gifting a point or two isn't necessarily the end of the world. I think that might definitely be a show topic. I'll have to throw that in the bin for another time. But anyway, good stuff. Thank you, Crimfan. Let's see, Jake over on Facebook. He said, "Hi, I'm Jake from Salt Lake City. I've been listening for
not from State Farm.
No, not from State Farm. No, not at all.
Salt Lake
City.
See.
He says he's been listening for a little over a month now from episode 1, and I'm at about 124. I know Brett likes to read, and he talked about Wheel of Time as one of the books. He's asking, have you read the Brandon Sanderson Cosmere books? Speaking of, have you tried the Mistborn RPG game? So I can answer those back to back. No and no.
Have
Sean?
you heard of Mistborn, Brett?
I have heard of Mistborn. I have not played it.
So I have heard of Mistborn. It is by the Crafty Games, previous publishers of Spycraft. They went off the rails. That's my interpretation because I liked them. I liked Alex and who's the other? Patrick from.
Okay.
They were at AEG and then they did Crafty Games. Came out with Spycraft and they came out with Mistborn, and I think they came out with a generic fantasy. It's escaping my mind, and somebody's yelling at the radio, and I should Google it.
Why don't you do that? Oh, and Jake goes on to say I'm making a homebrew game based off the magic systems of the Cosmere using mutants and masterminds as a universal system. I feel it works more simple than GURPS does. Hell, what doesn't? Ha ha ha. That's Brett's aside there. Sorry, Steve. Anyway, Jake goes on with, when I got done with your Gods episode, I felt disappointed since the Cosmere has so much more to do with gods. I was hoping for more insight into how to implement them. Please let me know if you can share some more insight. I'm also making a Mutants and Masterminds 2-shot Halloween special kind of campaign, mixing World War II Wolfenstein with Castlevania. I'm hoping that will be as fun as it sounds. Good gaming, everyone. You know what, Jake? We've had a couple different comments around the Gods episode. So I was noodling on this with Sean a while back. Clearly we've done now 155 of these. Opinions and thoughts, and you guys have always, you men and women who are listeners of ours, have always fed us some really good just thinking, brain food back around different ideas and things. So I think revisiting the Gods component may be just taking a different take on it. Might be another good one for a topic. So that will go into the list. Thank you, Jake. And thanks for listening, man. That's just awesome. Always good to have a new listener. And it's cool that you've stuck with us for about 124 episodes. So that's pretty damn good. Thanks, man.
Fantasy Craft.
I do recall that one too. Again, those were games like, oh, look at that. Walked away.
No. $50 gets you 3 books. And the core book is no joke at 400 pages.
Good Lord.
I have not played those. I have not played that, but nonetheless. Anyways, that's the folks at Crafty. So they do the Mistborn. Yeah, thanks for writing in, friends.
Shall we go on?
We shall get to the topic of Maine. So Brett asked, I said, Brett, what are we going to talk about? He's like, kind of noodling this over. And then he sent me an email and he's like, what is it, Brett? What's the topic?
Mistakes were made.
and what was my response?
Well, we need to see what you did. I don't make mistakes.
That's right, Brett. So Brett said, hey, I made some mistakes on my last game and I think I should talk about them. Sound good? And I said, sure, man, it's going to be your show because I don't make mistakes.
Yeah. So let's.
I gotta get a 70s laugh track for this.
I just think Sean's just not as in touch with his inner gamer, perhaps. Anyway, so I'll start off and see if Sean wants to chip in.
I am not self-aware.
I can see that. Okay.
Ran a great game. Okay, dude, whatever you say.
Sure. Whatever, dude. People left crying. Someone slashed your tires. 3 tires. Why? No, it's a good game. Everyone had fun.
5 of these yahoos may or may not listen to us, but they're going to be in my Gamehole Con game. I wonder how I get people to sign up for my games.
I think it's just
they can't
people
listen to this thing.
No, well, I think part of it is they sign up simply to see if it can't be that bad. All right, so let me kick this thing off and see if Sean has the balls to say anything. Or okay, so that's horribly sexist. Let's see if Sean's got the intestinal fortitude to step up and admit some mistakes. Don't want to be sexist here.
I will.
It's a bad thing.
I will play a role-playing gamer. So I will take the role of a DM or GM that has made mistakes.
Okay, fine. Just I don't know where to get your material from, but just ad lib it. So here we go. So I ran DCC, a campaign for my home crew. I decided what I wanted to do was I bought the Rise of the Courts of Chaos. It's a compilation of a series of modules that Goodman Games put out. I picked it up. I'm like, this is perfect. This is great. This is what I'm going to run. It'll be awesome. And it started out great. And I had little hand-drawn maps. It was really cool. So from a mistakes perspective, number one, I didn't really keep notes, which is a weird thing for me. I have been keeping very good notes and publishing them for my games. Usually every month saying, hey, this is what happened last time. Here's where we're at. So even if the players don't read it, the exercise of doing so keeps it fresh in my mind. And then just before the game starts, I go, fuck, what the hell happened last time? Read. Oh, yeah. Click, get the brain going. Back in that space. I'm good. So we would get together, and for the first 2 sessions, everything was totally clicking. By the third session, though, enough stuff had happened that I completely blanked on a few things. Like, who is that guy? What was that thing? Are we even going in the right direction anymore? I mean, real honest to God rookie cock-ups that I had because I didn't take any freaking notes, and I'm kicking myself for it now. Because the end of the campaign was great. I thought it was a lot of fun. It kind of had a wonky ending, which was very DCC. It could have been better had I taken some notes. The other thing that I found is that my crew and I, for whatever reason, leaned into the wacky part instead of the weird, right? So a couple different things happened with DCC in the game that was just plain funny, or something was described and everyone went, and somebody giggled or started laughing because it was just funny. You know, man-sized, naked, hairless cats that try to vomit down your throat. That's just weird, right? It's weird. It can be creepy and so forth. It didn't come across that way at all. It came across as almost a slapstick type of thing, which is not what I meant to do. And we stopped it, right? We went, okay, let's stop. Let's get a little more serious here, guys. Come on. But I did not, the tone that I wanted to enforce through the game, and I didn't want it to be cartoony. And it wasn't that way the whole time, but there were moments when we would kind of take this left turn or right turn into this wonky kind of cartoony area. And it was almost so wacky, so over the top, that it was more funny than anything else. And the guys had a lot of fun with it. They'd play it again, but it's viewed more as a palate cleanser than it was like a serious role-playing game. Now, I know that there are plenty of people who play DCC as campaigns, play it really serious, get into character and so forth, but I think that had I tried to enforce the tone more and perhaps even called out the things in the adventures, right? I tried to run most of them kind of as written. Had I gone through and adjusted a little bit more and changed some of the things to make it perhaps a little more dark or something more to fit the taste of my group, I think it may have went over well. But that was the biggest piece, though, was the notes. And by not having that, it was difficult for me to remember back. You know, I changed jobs in between here and there and trying to sort different things out. And say, what happened last time? And then had I had that memory jogger, I would have went, oh yeah, that was a time when the naked hairless cat tried to puke down Zave's character's mouth and everyone got a laugh out of it. That was not good. Let's make this a little more serious. Let's not do that type of thing again. I wasn't able to take my lessons learned from session to session because I didn't write anything down. God damn it. Sean, do you have anything to say to that, or are you just going to listen to me? Just checking.
I'm all ears, man.
You're just letting me have my moment where I can confess my sins.
This is a time for reflection, Brett, and a way for us, you and I, to become better. Because we are not perfect. Well, I mean,
I'm not.
At least one of us is not perfect.
That's adorable. So the other thing,
life is a learning experience, Brett.
Absolutely. With my Lamentations of the Flame Princess campaign, I wrapped that up as well. I had really good notes out of this one, which was nice. I had a really cool map. It was working really well. The one thing I learned about the Lamentations game was that I had a couple of friends of mine who were playing it. They didn't mind getting into character, and they had a really good time. It was freaking dark and brutal, and people got faces bit off with bear traps, and it was nasty. But how do I do this? The mechanics of the game are very simple. It's not that hard to deal with. But I don't think they were ready for for how weak the characters were. I had a couple of people like, well, this characters basically can't even survive and blah, blah, blah. And I had to look at them like, yeah, that's the point. The character isn't a god. He or she will get tougher as they go along. But if the problem is too big, why are you just charging headlong into it? There's a playstyle thing that the group had a couple of members of the group had a hard time swallowing, I think. And it doesn't mean that they didn't like it. They had a lot of fun with it. We talked about it. And a couple of guys who complain's a strong word. When we look back on it, they said, I don't think I fully understood, Brett, how deadly it was and how useless. One guy said useless, and another person said useless or, low grade, unskilled, blah, blah, blah. And some of it also came down to, we talked about this a little bit in the skills, when we talked about skills and games that don't have skill lists. And that was kind of the impetus for that discussion. But it came up again, excuse me, at the tail end, without a definitive list of things that you can or can't do. It was actually throwing some gamers off. And come to find out, I do have some gamers that did not play a lot of old school first edition AD&D where they didn't have big skill lists. A lot of the stuff that they played, like Rollmaster and stuff, was rife with skill lists. So it was really different, and I did not take into account how jarring that could be compared to many of the other fantasy game systems that we'd been playing. So it was I was totally into it. Lenny was totally into it, and a couple other guys were, but some folks, I think it was really jarring. And I didn't think that'd be a big deal. I'm like, oh, the group can handle it. And then, thinking handling it, it's like, oh, they're big kids. They'll tough it out. No, it's not even so much like being tough or having the guts to handle it. It's dealing with expectations, again, at the top. Had I gone through character generation, a little more detail, maybe run a mock combat, maybe described it a little bit more, that would have gotten some of the guys who hadn't read the complete rules, who hadn't really grokked how dangerous it would be, I think that would have gotten them over that hump. What do you think, Sean? It depends.
Come on, man. Don't give Ron Blessing any ammo. I think so. I don't think what you run into is completely uncommon. As a matter of fact, it's probably more common than not. And the specifics I'm talking about is when you start on your group. So here's my take. I think when you have a group, especially one that's been playing together quite some time, that they have a chemistry, which
absolutely.
is good.
Yep, absolutely.
But they also have a kind of a standard way of playing, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Don't misconstrue that as negative. But at the same time, especially if you've played like a game, maybe a particular game, maybe two games, for a long time, on and off. Could be on and off, could be long duration. And then you switch it up to another game, especially like fantasy, right? You play D&D, throw in Lamentations, play some DCC, Swords and Wizardry, and if you're used to playing Pathfinder all the time, you're going to play it in a particular manner. And then all of a sudden you shift gears, literally, like it's shifting gears in a car. Like, woo, I'm cruising down the road. All of a sudden, I don't know how to drive this thing. And I'm going to put the clutch in and I'm going to throw it into this gear. Whoa, that's second gear. And I'm going 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Right. So then it's like, oh, duh. It's not run like that. It's not play. I wouldn't say it's not played like that, because you can play games any different way. But you know what I'm saying, Brett? You go to like okay, we're used to running in and killing shit and we're badasses. And then you go into a DCC funnel and you're like, okay, I run in with my club and I've got 2 hit points. And you're getting like, you roll up 6 characters and 3 of them are dead in the first hour.
Yeah.
I mean, for somebody that's like, well, what the fuck? What's up
my
with
guys
this?
got my guys
blows.
my guys grooved on the funnel. They didn't mind it. I think what happened though was that the funnel set a tone of capriciousness and wackiness that never left.
Well, no, but I also think that like maybe DCC is a bad example. But if you go to like Lamentations, you're more vulnerable.
Yep.
Right, you're more vulnerable. Yes, the wackiness piece, like I think you can. That's a hard one to like serious versus kind of just a chuckle because you ever play Serious Sam, Brett?
No.
Serious Sam. All right. I'm going to digress because it's probably the only thing I'm going to be able to contribute this whole damn episode.
All right.
So for those of you that know what Serious Sam is, that's an awesome video game. So back in the LAN gaming days, it was created by a Croat team, like as in Croatia. So it was really good graphics, but it was wacky, right? It's a first-person shooter, and you are on a team of whoever's on your team, like whatever, 2 to 10 people. And all you're doing is going through levels and they throw wacky stuff at you. Like there's guys like humanoid bodies with like no heads with like chains and bowling balls for like their appendage. And they just come at you like, and I think they were even screaming like, and that's all they do, like waves of them. So it's it reminds me of Serious Sam. Don't ask me why it's called Serious Sam, but, and Serious Sam is not serious because the people you can play is like 70s disco guy and cowboy. I don't even know. They're just all weird. But my point of this goddamn story is that it had weird freaking beasties that would come at you. And it was hard to kind of be like, it's not Doom. It's not Quake. It's these things these guys made up, and they're kind of hilarious because they're like, what in the hell is this thing coming at me?
Yeah, and it's goofy because Call of Cthulhu has equally, quote-unquote, conceivably wacky-ass weird shit. And, I mean, there's some terrifying weirdness, and I think a lot of it comes down to, I'm playing Call of Cthulhu, it's a horror game, so you have a feel. And right. My group has not played a lot of DCC, and it was our first run at a campaign. It was fun. We had a good time with it. And I don't think what we did was wrong per se. I think I felt disappointed because I was hoping for a different feeling to the game, a different tone, and I just wasn't able to capture it for whatever reason. I think, and I do agree with you, I think what may have happened is that the way my group plays, that's just how they react to that type of thing. It would take a more concerted effort to change that approach for them, perhaps.
Sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think that I do think that if you're playing a particular game and you're playing like Call of Cthulhu, it's got this ominous, everybody's going to die. Probably everything is foggy.
Oh, yeah, it's always raining. Yeah.
Right, always raining. Always
thunder in the
dreary.
background, yeah.
Right. Yeah,
everybody's inbred with fish people. It's just crazy.
Right. But it's like the deal, and it sets the mood and the tone.
It is, and I think it's just kind of. No, I get it. I totally get it. No, I'm with you. So, the only other thing I really wanted to throw out, I don't know why this was in here. I'm going to get rid of this one. Take that one out. Anyway, adjusting the notes. I don't want to talk about that one. I've been playing in a Ravenloft game that my buddy Alpha's been running. And a 5e Curse of Strahd, which is interesting because I'm having an incredibly difficult time not being that guy who goes, "Ooh, I know what's in the windmill. Ooh, I know what that is," because I've heard. I've never had like spoilers bother me before. I can normally shunt them out of my brain. But a lot of the guys I'm playing with in that game did not play a lot of actually, there's only one other person in that group besides Alpha and I in this little subgroup that have ever played any of the classic D&D stuff. Zave, Nick, and there are some, but there are a lot of monsters that come up and like, oh, that's an X. And the guy's like, what the fuck is that? I'm like, what do you mean, what is that? That's a ghast. A what? Oh, that's not what we're used to. Ghast like this. I'm like, oh yeah, you guys played Rollmaster. You played something different. And it's this bizarre feeling of playing with these people who've been gaming as long, if not longer than me. They just grew up with a different system and a different world. And I'm kind of looking at them like, how do you not know this? And I'm like, wait a minute. That's how I should be playing right now. They're absolutely in awe. And they're like, oh my God, the mystery of this thing. And what the fuck is that? And I don't have it because I'm like, oh, that's a whatever. Oh, that's a blah, And I'm just like, oh, I got it. I know what that is. And I'm thinking to myself, I could probably enjoy the fuck out of this game a lot more if I took a page from them. I mean, because these are grown men that have been playing for a long time. We're all in our 40s plus. And some of them just don't know that stuff. I'm like, God damn it. I need to take a page out of that book and watch my kids play again and try to emulate that. I'm having fun with the game, but I have to put a lot of energy, personal energy, into not spoiling it by metagaming the fuck out of it. Like, oh, that's a this. I know what that means. Or I've heard a thing. I remember vaguely reading the original Ravenloft piece. I think I know where that came from. Shut up, Brett. Shut up, Brett. Shut up, Brett. That's all that crap is running in the back of my head. So what I did was I made a character, and I've slowly but surely kind of put him in the background. He does certain things, but I try desperately not to be the voice of the group or push them in certain directions because I'm kind of nervous that I might accidentally be pushing them towards the quote-unquote right answer type of thing because of inadvertently metagaming it based on overall knowledge. I've never encountered that before where I'm like, wow, am I really the only person at this table right now who knows all this crap and none of you guys know anything? This is weird. So it's a new experience for me, and I've never had to deal with that before. There's usually somebody else with me, at least, who knows enough about the game system or the monsters or whatever, who we can kind of look at each other and go, oh. And everyone else goes, what? I go, never mind. I know, but my character shouldn't. And everyone goes, okay, cool, we get that. Then we can play through it. But because I'm the only person at the table who knows, I don't have anybody to bounce it off of except the game master. He's like, shut up. He doesn't want me to ruin it for anybody. So I'm trying really desperately hard not to be that asshole at the table. And it's proving to be harder than I thought it would be. So my inner Kelly's coming out. That's what's happening.
And you got to watch out who you hang around.
Exactly.
Shit rubs off.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
That's just, it's an odd thing. I think honestly, from lessons learned piece, and the reason that this topic came to my mind is just kind of every time I'm done with a campaign, either playing in one or running one, especially running one, as I try to do the project manager thing and say, okay, what can I learn? What could get better for next time? We've talked about this before where you ping the group. Hey, Sean, you played in my Trail of Cthulhu game. What did you like? What didn't you like? Pulling that type of stuff together. But the other piece is don't forget you as game master, your enjoyment. What didn't you like? What I didn't like about my DCC game was that it got, a couple of guys use the term cartoony. It got cartoony. It got a little wacky and less serious than I wanted it to be. So, Sean, some of the things you said gave me some better thoughts around it. So that's just kind of, okay, what could I do to change that next time? Is there anything I could do? Could I introduce the game differently? Same with Lamentations is some of the group was not fully prepared, like emotionally, if you will, or player-wise to say, hey, you're incredibly vulnerable. Don't charge into stuff. There are no skills. If you want to do something, tell me what it is. Tell me how you're doing it. Say, I'd like to make a strength check. I'd like to do something or other, right? Coaching some of those folks through a game system that I thought they'd played, but they hadn't, BX, D&D type of thing. And the lesson there is don't assume everyone has the same level of system mastery just because they say they've played it before. Because I've run into that a couple different times. It just hit me really strong in my Lamentations game and in the DCC game. Oh, I read the rules. Oh, I've done this. yeah, that was either perhaps a very long time ago, or you didn't do it quote unquote right, or it's maybe not something you grok right now, blah, blah, blah. But between writing the notes, which is just a staple thing I should be doing, god damn it, dumbass, either putting them in a notebook for myself, or I have a wiki page or somewhere I can publish it, a Google Plus community like I've talked about. I need to get back on that horse, get that done. And from a tone perspective, every session, if you want to maintain a certain tone, it needs to be enforced every session. I need to do a better job of that. And then, like I said, when it comes to the game systems themselves, don't assume everyone has the same level of knowledge. That's a rookie mistake, but I just felt it was worth calling out now that I've been doing this for a very long time, and we still fuck things up. Unless you're Sean. Sean doesn't make mistakes.
Well,
Actually, Sean doesn't run games anymore, so that's why he doesn't make mistakes anymore.
It's easy to have a good track record when you're not on the track.
Exactly. The last game I ran.
Because I haven't played. Brett's on to me.
Just a little bit. All right, Sean. Any other, what, so I laid this on you. Do you have any insider like, hey, you dumbass, obviously. Do you think I missed anything kind of in what I laid out? Obviously, there's more nuances perhaps behind it, but.
These are things anybody can run into, and it just, because Brett and I bring it up doesn't, because we talk about this stuff doesn't mean we're infallible and we know exactly, we can read the minds of the table.
Yeah, that's kind of why I want to talk about. That's why I want to talk about. I've been gaming with these guys for over 25 years, and I still fucked up. It happens. It happens.
Well, and so I think at the same time, the message, even aside from all that, is that, some folks, there's some folks that are like inspired to run their games. We've got some that are like, I've never run a con game, and they're going to Gary Con or Gamehole Con or whatever con they're going to, and it's like their first game they're running. It might be their first one ever. It could be the first one at a con. And they get like, oh, it's a big deal, which it is, but they're looking at it from like a big deal. Like, I hope I don't mess things up.
Yeah.
And Brett has known these guys forever, and he's still, look at it. The guy's a mess. He still dicks stuff up.
Nice.
Nice. And so it just goes to show you that Brett with the gaming group that, Gygax would have been proud to model a game after.
Well, sometimes I look at it this way. I failed them. They didn't fail me, right?
Oh. And Brett, being the guy that he is, takes the heat. Like, I would be like, it's all the players.
Yeah, you'd be like, fuck those guys. Light them on fire. Throw them off a cliff, man. Who cares?
Wow. I don't know if I'd go that far, but.
Yeah,
hey,
you knock them down and take their lunch money.
But so everybody should just, not get worked up over this stuff.
Yeah, we've talked about it's okay to fail before, and like, hey, you're going to mess something up. And we talked a little bit about mistakes you and I made in the past. This were just things that kind of hit me real recently. And I thought, it's worth throwing out there. These are some really simple table stakes stuff that we've talked about. I'm like, yeah, I should always do this. And yeah, I like to do this. And lo and behold, this is exactly what happens to Brett when he doesn't keep notes and publish them in some format. Things get fucking derailed because I don't know. I can't remember stuff like I used to. I don't remember what happened here. I lose track of a name or something silly happens. If I don't help enforce the tone every session, things get cartoony. Things get a little wonky. And if I don't take the time to make sure that the people who don't have the same level of system knowledge, spend a little extra time with them, help them, coach them at the game, there's no reason to be overly heavy-handed. Like, we talked about how to learn RPGs, right? Yeah, just because you've played BX before doesn't mean you've played Lamentations before. Just because you've played Redbox doesn't mean you've played it in the last 20 fucking years. So don't assume that just because everyone's done a thing that they have the same level of mastery that you, who reread the rules 5 times in preparation for this game, now know like the back of your hand. Not everybody does. They may have indeed played it. Like, I'm running a Warhammer First Edition campaign with the guys now, and we just made characters this last session. But I reread that rule book twice now because it's been a long time. Actually, it's been since last Gamehole Con that I ran it, and I want to brush up on the rules. So I started looking around, talked to Brassel a little bit online, got some thoughts from him, and then I read the rules and just making sure I've got stuff together, went through the character creation. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm doing this one by the book. This is the type of thing that would tell people on my podcast to do it this way. So goddamn it, I'm doing it because I know this works. So I made those mistakes. I'm like, you know what? I think the best thing to do then is the next thing I'm doing is I'm going to make sure that all the things I skipped or didn't do quite right last time, I'm going to do right this time. Putting the energy into it and making sure that stuff is there. Still don't do a hell of a lot of prep. It's post-game stuff. It's the notes for me, and it's enforcing tone. Those notes, those little bullet point things that can just help me take it over from to back to where it ought to be, a really good game session. So anyway, that's all I had, man. Sorry, didn't mean to bring you behind the confessional, and I'll go do my Hail Marys and Our Fathers. I should be fine.
I think it's good stuff, man, and raising the hood and showing what's underneath the cover.
Yeah, it's good sometimes. So obviously other people out there have screwed something up, I'm sure. Or if you just like to razz me and tell me how much I suck, feel free to do that too. But get a hold of us, and if you've done something like that and you're willing to share it, we'd love to grab it. We don't have to read it online. We can use an assumed name if you'd rather not have anybody know what you did. But sometimes if nothing else, kind of the how do you capture your lessons learned, and what are you doing to help ensure that you're getting better at it? Because right now my approach now is I'm taking a more systematic approach to making sure I'm covering the bases I should cover. It's kind of like, did I do this thing? Did I do that thing? Almost a checklist. And again, it'll become second nature. Bam, 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 bam. I'll be back in my groove. But I'm out of the groove, so I got to reinforce it with myself. So just curious what other people have done or are doing to make sure that they don't have a Brett moment. Don't be like Brett, man.
There was a podcast I was listening to, and I can't remember who it was, and I can't remember the story exactly, but it had something to do with somebody just starting out, and they were like, "Oh, I'm gonna game master," and they started running a game, and they got like a major rule messed up. Like instead of something like I don't know if they were using AC for hit points or vice versa. Maybe it was hit points. Like they used hit points for armor class. So of course, like all the player characters were just like, first level rolling a D20, and the person's got, the NPC's got 4 hit points. They were just like, and then I don't know what they used for, like they might have used the hit points for armor class, and then they used something else. But it was like, they couldn't understand like why they walked through it or why they were having such a hard time or something.
That's funny.
And so, I mean, if you got a story like that, that's kind of, you can look back and laugh how you kind of get the wires crossed. That'd be kind of hilarious. We could all have a good laugh at your expense.
All right.
I'm not saying that was me. God damn it. Nice. Although I might have made that mistake when I was a kid. I'd be like, oh yeah, I know how to GM. And then just like, you were doing it this way the whole time, you dumbass. You were doing it the wrong way. Like,
yeah, no, there's plenty of those moments out there too. Anyway, That's all I had. Let's go on to die roll, man.
Die roll. All right.
Enough of my personal shame. Let's talk about something else.
Right. Okay, Brett.
So, a couple people pointed this out. I saw it as well. There is a schoolgirl in a Cornish lake in the UK pulled out a 4-foot-long sword. There's this wonderful picture. Excuse me, Matilda Jones wading through water at this pool in Cornwall when she stumbles across a 4-foot-long sword. She pulls out this gigantic claymore-looking thing. It is so freaking cool. So you look at that.
The prophecy's been filled.
Prophecy's been fulfilled. I just, I for one, welcome the arrival of Merlin and the court. So
I will bend the knee to that young lady.
I don't see why not.
As if I don't,
off with your head. That's how that goes.
Gonna be in a lot of trouble.
So not only is it just cool news-wise, historical, but these are the type of things I've used this. I actually used this sort of thing in a campaign once where they happened upon a thing, found it, went, oh, I don't know what that is, and like, oh my god, that was the item of some bizarre prophecy, and the characters are roaming around with it, just using it because it's just a +1 sword, but it turned out to be like the sword of a certain prophecy, and they kept flashing it, and people drew a lot of attention to themselves. So it's totally gameable. I just thought it was a lot of fun to read that story, so I had to share that. Sean, your turn.
All right. Encounter Roleplay website has been launched. It's an interesting website. I saw it on Twitter and I checked it out, and it was a well done website. I was fairly impressed. So they have feature articles, podcasts, and shows. I believe shows are more of the video side and podcasts are audio, but I thought it's a resource you guys can check out. It's pretty decent, and it sounds like they're biting off quite a bit. And who knows?
Cool.
Number dos, Rob Whelan is doing reviews of D6 Star Wars adventures. So he's got a bunch, and he's like, "Hey, who would like it if I reviewed some of the D6 adventures that I own?" And I'm like, "Hey, I'll do that. I'll get in on that." And so he's doing those. Link in the show notes.
Rob's a cool guy. I met him at Gamehole Con a while back. He's a cool dude.
Milwaukee guy.
Yeah, he is. Nice. Just
down the road.
A ton of fun.
Writes a lot for, so he has done the robot one, right? What's the robot?
Yeah. Oh,
RPG.
shit. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. He wrote stuff for White Wolf. He's done Fate stuff. He was a blast. He was a cool guy to hang out with. Anyway.
My love robot. I don't remember.
I can't remember. Atomic Robo. Is it?
Atomic Robo.
There it is.
It is Atomic Robo. Atomic Robo. But he also writes for Geek and Sundry. So he has articles that come up, and he's doing stuff. I think he wrote on the new Star Trek RPG. That guy's all over the place.
And he's awesome. He's fun.
He's
to
a very
talk to.
nice guy.
Super nice guy.
If you run into him at a con, very approachable.
Oh, so you get a link to Serious Sam. There we go.
I put a link to Serious Sam in there so people can see what that's all about. I got a link in Crafty Games. We just mentioned briefly in case everybody wants to know about Mistborn or the Adventure Craft. Adventure Craft? Did I say that?
I think that's what you said. We had two from listeners. Ezra Orocha pointed us to an article by Sarah Laskow. It's a how to protect your library the medieval way with horrifying book curses. Medieval scribes protected their work by threatening death or worse. Which, as a book collector, that seems like a good idea. So I'll be doing some research in that. I think that's a good call.
Yeah. Oh, and then Michael Parker, he, as I mentioned earlier, the Closet Gamer, he created a little game that you could use within your own game called the Tabaxi Tarot Dice. So check that out on his website. So Michael pounding out some creativity.
Very cool. Good stuff.
Yeah, we got some reviews. I want to thank. We should say.
Absolutely.
I don't know if Brett does. I do.
I'm still feeling bad that I suck so bad, and you're perfect. It just makes me. You thank people. They don't want my thanks. I'm not Sean.
Hey, buck up, little camper.
There it is. I was waiting for that.
Buck up, little camper. Hey, if I were a clown, I'd take that frown
and turn it upside down.
That's right, Brett. Jason from the Twin Cities. I know Jason. He's gonna be running stuff at Gamehole Con. Brett's met him. He's from the cities. He wrote a review for us. Ron Blessing, guy from
God, where do we know Ron from? The guy who knows Savage World. Like, holy crap, he knows Savage World. So yeah, good stuff.
Ron's been doing some podcasting on. He hasn't lately, but he's been on podcasts. The Game's the Thing, and
he's good. He's fun people.
The Savage Bloggers Network podcast with the sexy voice Serrano.
Exactly.
Should I read Ron's quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
What can I say? I'm a fan of this show. Brett and Sean put on an entertaining and professional production. It's great for my drive time listening. The hosts have sibling-like chemistry, and that's to include their bickering.
Awesome. Well, he's got us there, Sean.
He does. Also want to thank Bartbox.exe. Bartbox. Not to be mistaken for his cousin Beatbox.
No, totally different person. That's cool. We love iTunes.
Bartbot. I don't know why it says bot.
I don't know what
Bot.
because you can't spell. iTunes
He found us on the Literate Gamer.
Did he? That's awesome.
Did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I tell you, the iTunes reviews are cool because it just does the thing where everybody. Because sometimes you're like, I don't know, what do people say about this stuff? You know, somebody may point you at a thing, and when listeners go out and say nice things about us, that's really cool. So thank you.
I got to read this one, bro.
Okay, go ahead.
I found this podcast through the Literate Gamer. So some of you might not listen to Literate Gamer. They do a lot of video games, and they had us on their show. And I was some time ago, and they sent us shirts, really nice. And I've loved it ever since. It's a great place to start for beginners who want to gain a broad knowledge of a tabletop RPGs and the scope of what they make possible for gamers, as well as the nuances that exist within the experience of gaming and how to approach it. Very, very kind.
Very kind.
I would be like, what? Is he listening? Is he listening to us?
We'll find out.
All right. I started listening so I could begin gaming in college with some idea of what to do, and I feel more than prepared.
Oh, wow.
This podcast has actual inspired my friend and I to begin designing our own game system / homebrew D&D overhaul. We are having a great time with it.
Very cool.
Keep up the great content.
That's awesome. Thanks, man.
So BartBot, when you get that up and running or whatever, and you want us to pimp that and you want to throw it out there for the masses, let us know. We'll let people know.
Awesome. Very cool.
Jason, Miles will read Jason's too while we're at it. I've been listening since the beginning, and it is always at the top of my queue. While the discussions occasionally lack organization.
Occasionally.
What he's talking about. It is the spontaneous nature of the dialogue that makes this particular show so different than many other RPG podcasts. Also, their devotion to their fan base is nothing short of impressive.
Our listeners are pretty fucking cool. It's hard not to be devoted to people like that.
Man, I just want to kiss all of them.
That's why we keep Sean behind the table at the booth.
You know those guys that roam around with the shirts that are like free hugs?
Yeah, there's Alex.
Gamehole Con. Free kisses.
Alex, lawyer has advised us to not allow Sean to do such a thing.
All right.
Let's get out of here, man.
Thanks for the reviews, everybody. Everybody, even the ones we haven't read, we appreciate it. Absolutely. Brett, I don't know if I got I don't think I have the outro on this. We're going to probably skip the outro. Anyways, what are we talking about next week?
I want to talk about, I just mentioned it, and I think it's worth bringing up. I'll push out the one topic I had, but we're going to talk about how many points to make your character. I want to talk about, when and why you might want to kind of give away some points and so forth with character builds. Kind of touching a little bit of player series plus game master approach for character generation. So I'll get into more detail on it, but yeah, that's what we'll talk about.
Super duper.
Awesome.
Oh, without further ado, this episode of Gaming and BS brought to you with the help from the following patrons: Christian Sexy Voice Serrano, Kevin Lovecraft, Joe Swick, Brett's Biggest Fan, Jeff Rademacher, Forrest DeGary, Mark Anthony Benedetti, Eric Jeppesen, Andy Hall, Sean Nicholson, Tim Jensen, Knights of the Night Crew, Palladian, Jason Blaylock, Remy Bilodeau, Jason Hobbs, Wayne Lumberhunter, Humfleet, James Carpio, Not Caprio, Pure Mongrel, Lord Tentacle, Corey Johnston, Eric Tankar, Brandon Barnes, Tim Shorts, Dan LaValle, CW Mellencamp, Craig Huber, Lost Sailor, Graham Miner, Todd McGowan, Roger Braslett, Misdirected Mark Productions, Old School DM, Jason, Christopher Gray, Finnulf, Merkel Froelich, Eileen Barnes, Tony Sugarloaf Baker, Todd Crapper, Jim Fitzpatrick, Michael Drescher, Wistatic, Alexander Auerbach, Rodrigo Beowulf, Neil Benson, Ron Blessing, Chris Steele, Eric Hoffman, Jared Rasher, Soldiers of Misfortune RPG, Christopher Lang, Curtis Takahashi, Gordon Cranford, Mark Tasaka, Larry Hout, Evan Harrison Cass, Ray Otis, Mark CMG Clover, Eli Kurtz, Ron Bishop, Stefan Dragonspawn, The Closet Gamer, and John Hammersley.
Boom! Well done, sir.
Damn. So, consider heading over to gamingnbs.com/Patreon. That's Patreon. For the cost of a coffee shop coffee, you can support the show for the entire month. And this month of September 2017, we'll be putting it towards the food bank, Houston Food Bank. This has been a Litterbox Studio production. I'm one of your hosts, Sean.
And I'm Brett. Good night and good game and all.